Greetings, everybody. My name is Gheorghe Cormos, and I am the Libertarian Party candidate for North Carolina's 3rd District to the U.S. House of Representatives. The main reason that I'm even here before you today, the catalyst for me deciding to get involved in politics is, as I'm sure is no surprise to anyone, was the COVID, what I'd call debacle or the experience. What I learned during that time is that by and large, there's really no discernible difference between neither the Democrat Party or the Republican Party. In fact, when you come down to it, both of them regularly make decisions that essentially put more power with the central federal government and with the two parties combined, as libertarians tend to call them, the uniparty. It puts all power with the statist uniparty and continuously decreases individual freedoms for you and I. So with that introduction, I guess I'm going to bring it back down to a more personable level, and there I was back in, I don't know, 2022, 21, and I was standing on my soapbox talking about, oh, this should be this should be that, with no one else around to hear me but my wife. And my wife, she said, and wise of her to say so, like, yeah, well, what are you going to do about it? And I said, hold my beer, and here I am, challenging the current sitting incumbent Representative Greg Murphy, the Republican. And on this year's ballot in November, I am the only challenger. No Democrat has run for this race. Having said all that, I'd like to just quickly bring out the 4 planks, as I call them, for my campaign, or the main issues that I see as central to how to get society and how to get America back on the right track. The first thing I want to say is the national debt is unsustainable. The second thing I want to run on is ending prohibition on marijuana. The third thing that I want to run on is an essential support to school vouchers and a support to private education. And the fourth thing that I'm running on is a combination between a rejection of emergency power usage by the federal government and also a desire to reform various immunity standards which the federal government and the court systems have given unto themselves, like, for example, qualified immunity. Now, I just want to circle back and sort of highlight a few things about why each of these topics is very important, not just for me personally. Obviously, it's important for me personally. I wouldn't be bringing it up, but it's important for all of us, right? The national debt, last I checked, somewhere between $34–35 trillion as of today. What's today's date? September 4th, 2024. When Trump came to office in 2016, the national debt was nowhere near that level. And it strains credulity to think, or for the GOP, better yet, to keep on saying that they are the party of small, limited government. In fact, what we actually saw during the COVID pandemic was a similar response from both the Trump team and the GOP, and after the Biden team and the Democrats. Both of them together reasoned that it was a smart idea to print something like $7 trillion. And now, chickens have come home to roost. Now we have inflation. The unfortunate thing about the current situation is that neither the Democrat Party nor the Republican Party have the correct answer. These two entities, the uniparty, together, they are sitting here and preaching to us the same old tired line about why we should hate each other and fight against each other. From the Republican line, I hear my competitor Greg Murphy actually blaming illegal immigrants for the fact that there's inflation, and mentioning not a single word about how much money was printed. On the other side, you've got unabashed Democrats like the current VP running for president blaming corporate greed. Of course, that is the same tired line we've always heard. But the reality is, together, the uniparty, these two entities, they locked us in our home for 2 years. paid everyone hush money to the tune of some $7 trillion, and now expect all of us to just simply ignore it. I know many people out there are tired of it, but this is the stuff that makes society. This is the kind of stuff that we either get it right and we can leave a better society for our children, or we get it wrong and we get treated like lesser than by our political class. It's not just a numerical number. It's not just games. They are taxing our time away from us. It's not just the money. Every single time you get something that says, congratulations, the county tax assessor has reasoned that your property value has increased, that's more time away from your family that you have to now spend because you got to go work and earn extra money. And if you're not a property owner, if you're a renter and you say, whatever, it doesn't affect me because I'm not a property owner, well, I would just say wrong. All those costs are getting passed through to us, from rent to groceries to every little thing that has made life more expensive over the last 3-4 years. They want to say it's a left versus right thing, but my fellow citizenry, it is not. They are hosing us, they keep printing money, and that is the only plan for them to get out of this debt, is to inflate out. Now that was a long little spiel about my first point. I'll move on to the second point. This is about ending marijuana prohibition. I am a supporter of legalizing marijuana. Now, if you don't want to join me down this trek, maybe you just want to go as far as saying let's legalize medicinal use for marijuana. I'm fine with that. If that's where you're at, that's fine. We can meet there. Let's say you're out here a voter of North Carolina's 3rd District, but that's still a bridge too far for you, and you would say, George, I would only meet you at decriminalizing marijuana. Say, for example, decriminalizing small amount possession, personal use, personal production, things of that nature. If that's where you're at, that's fine. The overall arching theme is we've got to stop arresting people for nonviolent offenses. And it's not just a matter of being hippy-dippy and wishing the world was a better place. No, it's quite literally because we have actual criminals that are engaging in actual violent behavior, and we need to focus our resources and focus police powers and limited resources on actual violent criminals. There's a lot more that I would care to say about sort of my position on marijuana, but I think by and large, in comparison to what my competitor Greg Murphy, the Republican, is proposing, the gentleman is proposing no change whatsoever. The gentleman is proposing continuing the status quo, which is essentially, I believe in North Carolina, for example, it's a felony, small amount possession. That is not the future that I want for me. That is not the future that I want for my children. And that is why I'm, among other reasons, another reason that I'm running for to give North Carolina's 3rd District a different choice. The next topic comes to what I would say is actually probably the most personal topic for me, because it directly affects what I'm able to provide to my children. I have 2 daughters, they're 6 and 4. My oldest one just started 1st grade today, actually. Well, excuse me, this year, actually. But as I sit here and think about the system of education that we have, currently what we see in the debate is we see Democrats in North Carolina at the top with Governor Cooper using the same old dog whistle, if you will, or same arguments from previous times, saying we need more money, we need more money, we need more money. There is never a time when government will say we need less money. The argument that public education is not fully funded, I find, is incredibly disingenuous, coming from a Democratic governor who himself for 2 years during COVID preached nothing but lockdowns. There is no more offensive picture in the public sphere right now of debates than watching politicians taking photo ops with their pearly whites smiling while our children are masked in the background. It is detestable. I hate it. I will not stand for it. Having said that, that's just an aspect of what happened during the debacle. But the other aspect of that is during that time, and again, the federal government, with the wisdom they chose, having teamed up with, big tech, they essentially turned the lockdown into more than just stay at home. It was also a watch what you say, because your opinion could land you in hot water. There was plenty, ample evidence that the federal government intimidated companies like Facebook, like Twitter, to stifle opinion, stifle competing COVID opinions. And it wasn't just about COVID. They stifled all manner of news that would have been influential to a voter's decision. The very things that one side of the Uniparty is accusing the other side of the Uniparty of what they will do as far as lawfare, as far as persecuting political opponents, that is quite literally what they have done in the last 3-4 years. We had parents out there that were trying to argue for common sense approaches to education regarding their children, and the government entities, from school boards to county boards to state to federal, lied through their teeth. And that is what you're getting when you vote Democrat or Republican. You're voting for the same status quo, okay? The last thing I'll say about private education in support of school vouchers is this. The current definition as it is used by the federal government when the conversation comes up to Title IX and women's rights, they basically have, they are so enlightened that they've reasoned that actually if you were born one sex, you can just wham bam, thank you ma'am, abracadabra, and now you're a different sex just by the power of positive thinking. That's all fun and dandy if you're an adult, and as many men out there are choosing to cross-dress. This is America, free country. But when you come into a public library or into a school with that ideology, it is detestable. I will oppose you at every aspect. And right now what we have is a future where I'm not sure if I'm gonna have to have the talk with my right now first grader of, hey listen, some boys think they're girls and they want to go to the bathroom at the same time as you. They might want to play soccer with you, because they think they're also girls. This is a conversation of La La Land. That is not reality. And I will not stand by idly as I and many other parents out there are simply perplexed of how do I try to raise my children and teach them the right way, God's way, the truth, while at the same time avoiding legal troubles from the current federal government, who would rather arrest you for not confirming your, for not affirming your child's, your teenage daughter's, son's chosen new identity, okay? It is a big problem. And for everyone that's sitting out there watching this thinking, oh, this can never happen to me, read the news. It is already happening to many people. We're talking about states like California. They've decided that actually if you're a parent in a custody dispute, for example, and one parent chooses to affirm and the other parent chooses to say that's crazy, that's not a thing, you can be basically given the short end of the stick in a custody battle. There are real consequences now simply because we have refused to stand up and say what is very plainly evident. God created Adam, God created Eve. There ain't nothing in between. The last thing that I'll say is the fourth point, which is regarding no to emergency powers and no to qualified immunity. It could obviously be broken up into two various things, but I'll tie it together and say this, that it's not just police officers. And it's not just, the evil representative or whatever it is. This tends to be the conversation we always have, like, oh, if only this person were out of the way, then everything would be peachy. The problem is that there's an entire apparatus, an administrative branch of the executive agency that is very, very numerous in size, function, and perplexity. And what we as citizens tend to come across every day is when we engage with administrative agency bureaucrats, it's not a guarantee that they're actually there to work on your behalf. It's strange to think that we as taxpayers pay these people their salary, and yet when you actually need help, you'll be quick to find out that they're actually there to work against the private interest of a citizen. They're actually there to work for the public interest of the agency itself and the politics which guide it. Now that's a problem when you come down to the practical day-to-day level that you and I live at, when you're trying to work through a particular process, and yet at every turn you get a no, you get a wrong office, wrong number, and not my problem, go talk to a different department. That's how you get people disenfranchised. And that is the reality of the world we live in today, a system built by the uniparty, meant entirely to just keep you in the same comfortable cage that we've been in, okay? Qualified immunity, I'm gonna say this regarding bad actors in the police force. It hurts everyone when police unions actually join elbows in order to protect bad apples. Not only does it hurt the public trust, but it also hurts you, the police officers, because we need to believe that you do in fact wake up every day and you say, I am in fact here to protect and serve. I am in fact here to keep my community safe. And I do believe that the majority of police officers probably wake up with that sort of mentality. However, there are just story after story after story. If it's not that poor girl that got shot in the back 17 times laying flat down on the ground, if it's not the guy out in western North Carolina who heard something outside the door, opened the door on his property and got lit up by a firing squad from local and federal law enforcement, if it wasn't for the guy down in Gaston, the veteran, the homeless veteran who had his dog shot by police officers, and then now it's been an entire 2-year battle to actually get the footage from the body cam from the police officers. All of these are just small examples that add up. And the most insulting thing of all of this is not only are we as citizens not exactly able to rid ourselves of these bad apples, but because of how indemnifying works, you end up covering the legal costs of some of these individuals as well, just because, hey, they're on the taxpayer's salary or the taxpayer's ledger. At any rate, these are basically the things that I believe are more important. Now, if you listen to corporate news media, or if you listen in particular to what my opponent is saying right now, it's talking a lot about illegal immigration. So I feel like I should spend at least a few minutes on my position on that. I've recently had the opportunity to engage on social media with various people that feel passionate about the incredible inflow of illegal immigrants. And I'm just going to say my position on this. Shut down the border, yes. Physically stop illegal crossings, yes. Return violent criminals, yes. Stop sanctuary cities, absolutely. We must not have a country within a country where people just feel like they can just make their own laws. But the last thing I will say, and this is the part that I believe the GOP is getting wrong, is there's no plan, no real plan, because in effect, they've been saying this for, I don't know, 5-10 years, how they're gonna get all the immigrants out, they're gonna get all the immigrants out. My only question, and as a illegal immigrant myself, is to what end? Because at some point, it kind of sounds like you're just making an argument of America for Americans. And that's where I have a little bit of a problem. There is a incredibly large international community that is people yearning for freedom, people craving freedom. And like it or not, there's really not that many other places you can go in this world to actually get freedom. It ain't gonna be China, it's not Russia, it's not Mexico, it's nowhere else. That's why people keep coming here. I would like a society where we don't have various caste systems, where we don't have citizens and everyone else. I would like a society where we actually can protect those that cannot protect themselves. And if we create something where there's two caste systems, some people will fall by the wayside. I don't think America is ready to really fully see and live with what it means to have fallen portions, fallen sections of society. If you think Oakland looks bad right now, or Skid Row in LA, you ain't seen nothing yet. On that, I'll end my spiel and just say this. There's a real opportunity this particular cycle, this election here in 2024. It's one Libertarian against one Republican in North Carolina's 3rd District. Over the 11 counties that cover this 3rd District, the statistics show the following, that independent voters are actually the majority at 37%. Then Republicans, and then Democrats, who have been losing registered voters regularly for some time now, and I think it's probably because people realize what the party's doing anyways, but that's a separate topic. With that level of unaffiliated voters, what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing you guys saying is that we are tired of the status quo. We really truly are tired of seeing the same battle, seeing the same negativity, seeing the same, well, just ugliness. We have an opportunity here to do something a little different. I'm Gheorghe Cormos, Libertarian Party candidate for North Carolina's 3rd District. Thank you for your time.